Welcome back, everyone. It's here. And today I've got some r/BestOf for you all. As per usual, I'll be reading you the posts, giving you my opinions, and I hope you do the same down in the comments below. And without further ado, let's jump right into it. This post was collected by Madison Brave, and they have yet to get a tagline yet. Originally posted to r/relationship advice by Throw Rain Sidious 2, February 27th, 2023. Found out my 19 female manager, 29 male, has an after-work podcast where he talks about his employees. No, you're not reading that title wrong. I thought my friend, John, was pulling my leg when he told me, but he recently found out and told me about it because I was mentioned in said podcast. For background, this is an office job, and I'm interning as a phone rep mostly while also in college. John showed me the podcast that someone showed him after finding it, and that's how I found it. Long story short, it's one of our managers, Josh, and his friend on the podcast. And his friend doesn't work at the company. He doesn't solely talk about his employees in the podcast, he also does sports/politics, but the segment where he did was about work stories related to his job. And I'll refrain from the actual title for obvious reasons. One of the clips John showed me was about a girl who went on maternity leave and the girl who replaced her temporarily. And he made jokes comparing them, using their first names, and even called her replacement However, the clip about me involved my Instagram. Long story short, I haven't used Instagram in years, and my last post was literally 4 years ago. Maybe I should have had it private, and I've since deleted it this week. On the podcast, he talked about how some of the managers follow each other, and some of the employees, but that there were a few he didn't follow that led him to search them to learn more about his team. And that's how he came across mine. He said I had a hidden talent of dance from high school that I didn't tell him about. And he joked it was because I didn't want to be hit on. He also said my boyfriend must be happy with my flexibility. Even though I'm single, and his friend said that was the reason I posted, and that my face wasn't doing it. Josh also joked about if I was still flexible, and his friend said to drop something to have me bend down. Josh is a jokester at work, but I was floored by his video. It's on YouTube, and while it doesn't show his face, his name is in the description, and my friend wants to address it with HR after telling the mother who is on maternity leave. However, he's not sure if there's anything else we should do beforehand besides having numbers, when we go in, that he thinks will be important, and he wants us to go in together. So, here's my question. Are we handling this correctly? And is there anything else we should do beforehand to get our ducks in a row? Perhaps even legally, such as consulting a lawyer? Update. January 22nd, 2024, nearly a year later. As I'm writing this, I'm no longer at the company. My coworker and I went to HR according to the advice we received, and we used a YouTube downloader to download the video specifically mentioning employees in case they'd be deleted upon him learning of a potential investigation. I also made sure to tell them that the dance videos he commented about me were from when I was much younger, and we also mentioned his derogatory comments about the coworker on maternity leave. We gave them links, along with a thumb drive containing copies of the videos we downloaded, and we felt like it went fine at the time. We only received one follow-up meeting afterwards to let us know that they spoke to the manager about it, and that meeting was given separately to my coworker and I. The videos were also deleted around that time, and the manager was never fired, at least when I was there for a few more months. The follow-up meeting was the last update we got before months of radio silence. But my ex-coworker and I have a guess as to why. All of the managers, including the 2 HR workers at our office, are tight. And they all often go out for sushi after close in the same plaza as our office too. They also follow each other on social media, although the manager's podcast was never linked to his personal social from what we saw before going to HR. So we weren't exactly expecting much when they're practically friends and post Instagram photos together, including the HR managers with them too. Months went by with no updates following the follow-up, and said podcast manager began to treat me somewhat differently, like being short with me, or giving me side eyes too. Even the mother on maternity leave made a complaint after we told her about his comment. But again, nothing came from it to our knowledge. I eventually put in my 2 weeks, and that was pretty much it. His podcast channel is still up and posts new episodes, but nothing pertaining to work/coworker stories from when I last checked. My coworker friend said he wouldn't be surprised if the other managers already knew about the podcast given how tight they were. I began looking for other work around the time we initially visited HR because he really came off as a creep. There was another comment from the video about me that I forgot to add, but he joked that he should offer a prize for whoever had the best split at the annual Christmas party as a way to see if I still had them. They play fun games at the Christmas party, and the whole thing just felt gross to me. I didn't attend for obvious reasons, but it's creepy just knowing that a manager I thought was completely normal could be such a creep. Comments. Corgi Cake. Quote, HR exists to protect the company, not you. Your mileage may vary, but remember that at all times, HR is not your friend. Document everything yourself. The podcast likely breaks company policy in multiple ways, and some aspects could be considered sexual harassment. You absolutely should file a formal complaint together. There is nothing here, yet, to get a lawyer involved with. If the harassment continues or there is any kind of retaliation, even a position change, that would be where you can look at legal avenues. Razzle Dazzle 626. Yes, you should 100% take this to HR. Make sure you download a copy of it so you have documentation in case the guy hears you reporting it and tries to delete it. Callie Grown 22. I work in HR and I would absolutely be interested in knowing a manager is posting videos talking about employees, especially when he's being rude about them. This is unacceptable. My guess would be these comments were in relation to the first post. Now, what's especially gross is that some of those videos that he's talking about are from her high school, which means he's watching her as a minor and bringing up in the podcast and talking about how flexible she must be. Just fucking gross, dude. It's a shame that this manager and his creepy fucking podcast, as well as HR's inaction because of how tight they are and how close they are with each other, that OP felt that the safest thing they could do was leave the company. That sucks. But on a bright side, if this is the kind of behavior that they partake in, eventually it will catch up with them, and something will happen that will get their asses sued into oblivion if they don't fix their behavior. So they can either take this as a wake-up call and hope to God nothing comes from it in the future, or perhaps, just maybe, they'll get too cocky, make the same mistake, and get drugged through the mud like they deserve. This post was collected by Choice Evidence 1983, and their tagline is, "It dawned on me that he was a wizard." Originally posted to r/mytheasshole by oddcandy0302. June 17th, 2025. Am I the asshole for naming my daughter a Verb? I, 31, have 2 sons, Jesse, 4, and Lucas, 3, and just had my 3rd child a few days ago, and it's a girl. I love all of my children equally, but we've always wanted a daughter, so we decided to choose a meaningful name for her. Some names we considered were Amara, Esme, and Rosalie. I hope I pronounced those somewhat right. But we wanted something more unique, so I suggested Embrace, because I think it's a lovely name and also unique because it conveys that our daughter is both loving and open to change. My husband loved the idea, and we settled on naming our baby girl Embrace. Yesterday, I went over to my parents' place so they could meet her for the first time. My older sister and younger brothers, 30 and 25, were also there, and my sister asked if I had decided on what to name her. Me and my husband told them that we were going to name her Embrace. And my sister burst out laughing. She said that my daughter's going to be bullied and her name's going to be punned the hell out of if I name her a Verb. But I argued that it has a beautiful meaning and is more unique than a lot of names that convey similar meaning. One of my brothers, 30, and Dad, said that my sister had a point. My youngest brother said that he didn't want any involvement in this conflict, and my mom told my sister not to be so negative and defended my decision. This resulted in a huge argument, and I ended up leaving with my husband in tears. I asked a few close friends for their opinion, and some say that both sides are understandable, while others are telling me that my sister is right, and the name won't age well. So Reddit, am I the asshole for naming my daughter a Verb? Am I the asshole has no consensus bot, but OP received the majority of You're the Assholes. So before we get into the comments, I want to give my quick 2 cents. Embrace is not the worst of what we've seen, alright? We've dealt with quite a few really just messed up ones on here. ranging from Lolita to fungal infections and including mentions of absidy, spelled A-B-C-D-E. That one was mentioned in passing, it was not part of a main post. Embrace is not good, but I've been so disillusioned by how many horrible names that we've seen that I'm kinda left just shrugging. Is it goofy? Yeah, a bit. Is it as bad as some of the ones I've seen? No. Should she be named Embrace? Probably not. My recommendation is to modify Embrace so it has the origin of the word, but, is also unique enough to stand out. Like Embra. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. You can name your child anything you'd like. That doesn't mean you should. Think about teenage boys and a girl named Embrace. That should give you plenty of reasons not to do this to her. I'm all in favor of you do you, but this is a bridge too far. Maybe translate it into an obscure language. You would be the asshole if you go through with this. Edited to add judgment. OP responds, thank you for presenting it from that point of view. I'm actually thinking it over from that perspective. Smiley face. Commenter 2. Go over to Facebook and look for a group called That Name is Tragedy. Don't be an asshole to your kid. It's not the embrace being a verb, it can equally be a noun. That isn't the point. It's just odd. If you like, give it to her as a middle name, and she can choose. OP responds, honestly, I actually like the idea of giving it to her as a middle name. I'll definitely be considering it. Thanks a bunch. Commenter 3. You're the asshole. Listen. It's a beautiful word, but not as a name. And what's even worse is that husband and I always wanted a girl, so when we finally got a daughter, we wanted to name her something meaningful. Have you any idea what a slap in the face that is for your sons? You're basically saying, the boys doesn't really matter. Their names doesn't matter. You finally got a child you wanted, so now you're going to actually care. For the child you want, not the wrong gendered. You're a huge POS. OP responds, thanks for sharing your opinion. I honestly didn't think of it that way when I wrote that part, but to clarify, when I said we've always wanted a daughter, I mean that we wanted both genders. Even if we ended up having a boy this time around, we'd be just as delighted. I understand how what I wrote comes off that way, but believe me, we put just as much thought into our sons' names and love them more than anything. Hope this clears up the misunderstanding. OP on needing to reconsider the name as it is terrible for people when they get older. OP responds, oh, well, I apologize for being a bit too upset about that. If you actually met a stripper named Embrace, then I can see where it's coming from. My bad. Honestly, that's making me low-key reconsider the name. Commenter 4. You're the asshole. She'll be subject to way too much unwelcome touching in her life. OP responds, well, that's a new way to look at it that I didn't think about. I'll definitely have to consider that. Thanks. Update, June 30th, 2025, almost 2 weeks later. So 2 weeks ago, I made a post asking if I was the asshole for wanting to name my newborn daughter Embrace. A name implying love because my sister, father, one of my brothers, and a few close friends said that my name could be embarrassing for my daughter in the future and wasn't a good idea. I discussed things with my husband a few days ago and showed him the post plus comments, and we both agreed that it might not be a good idea to name her something so unusual. Some of the "you're the asshole" comments were harsh, but I needed the reality check. Thanks. After that, I arranged to meet with my sister the next day, and we both apologized to each other for the argument. Anyways, after some discussion and advice from my immediate family and some friends, we decided to name our baby girl Amara instead. Everyone seems to love the name, including us of course, so that's good, and we're set on Amara. But if we decide to choose something else, we will still have until August because my daughter was born on June 13th, and our country gives you 60 days to register the baby after its birth. Thank you to everyone who provided their help by reading my original post and commenting their opinion. It was great help. Relevant comments. OP's final decisions on her daughter's first and middle names. Thanks for the suggestion, though me and my husband have already chosen Celine as her middle name. We thought Amara, meaning grace, eternal, and everlasting, would go well with Celine, which means sky or heaven from French. OP on her sons' names and their meanings. Jesse means God's gift, or king, and Lucas means light. Those names aren't very common in my area, and to be honest, my husband and I took inspiration for those names from a game because they're realistic and actually sound nice. Just because I didn't talk about the process of naming our sons doesn't mean it wasn't any less like our daughters and important to us. OP on playing favoritism between her sons and daughter. Believe me, it's not. I may have worded things a bit wrongly in first post, but we put just as much effort into our sons' names as we did into our daughters. It's just that she's our first and only girl, so picking a name out for her would be different, and we wanted to make sure it was meaningful. I know I sound biased, but I really do love all three of my children the same. It's nice having an OP where they post something, realize they fucked up, and then have no problem actually correcting that mistake and be like, yeah, no, this was dumb of me. Thanks guys, I really appreciate the advice. We don't really see that very often. Either we see someone who's in the right and being just completely drugged through the mud by Reddit for no goddamn reason, or we see someone who's in the wrong and they quintuple down because, fuck it, you're all wrong. Like the jester laughing at the dogs. But in this case, we have an OP who posted something, realized they were wrong, Reddit was actually mostly probably respectful about it, and they actually listened and didn't doom their daughter to a lifetime of harassment and bullying. So good on you, OP, for actually listening. This post was collected by Direct Caterpillar 77, and their tagline is, Satan is not a pogo stick. The original OP is clock out to piss, posted to r/relationship advice February 10th, 2020. I, 26 male, think my, 24 female, girlfriend is cheating on me with my best friend because of Wi-Fi. So, using an old throwaway for obvious reasons, but basically, my girlfriend and I have been dating for a bit over a year now, and have been seriously considering moving in together. Last night, we decided to go out for dinner to discuss it. We decided that I would move in with her once my lease is up in April. I texted my best friend, let's call him Jake, to tell him the good news. He told us he wanted to buy us a few drinks and us all crash at his place to celebrate. He said we could just meet at his house and then Uber to the bar. We figured, why not, right? He's met her numerous times and we all get along really well. But always while out somewhere or at my place. Never his house. Well, we get to his house, and my girlfriend says she really needs to use the bathroom before we start drinking. So, her and I run inside, she sets her phone and purse on his table, and she runs into the bathroom. My buddy stayed outside in case the Uber showed up. My girlfriend's phone went off, and she asked me to check it to see if it was her friend finally getting back to her about her coming with us or not. My buddy is single, and she told me she would try to hook them up. Well, when I turned on her screen, I noticed that it showed it was connected to a Wi-Fi network. I checked my own phone, and all the Wi-Fi networks there have passcodes. I'm trying to see if maybe there's any other reasonable explanation before I jump to conclusions. I was thinking maybe she used to date an ex that lives nearby, but she just replaced her phone about 3 or so months ago because her old one broke. I don't know what to do. I don't want to risk losing my girlfriend and possibly my best friend, just because I'm freaking out about something so small. I don't know if I'm ready to lose both of them at the same time. Update. Reddit 14th, 2020, 4 days later. Since my update post was removed and locked, I figured I'd post it here for those who are curious and didn't get a chance to read the update. I also want to say thank you to everyone and their advice. It's been better at least knowing the truth, though, than trying to ignore that gut feeling and intuition. I've taken a few days for myself. I read most of the comments, and I realized something. Sorry for not updating you guys sooner. I spoke with her 2 nights ago, and was just straightforward and honest. I told her about how I saw that her phone had connected to Wi-Fi, and I wasn't sure why it did that. She got quiet, and didn't say anything for what felt like an eternity. Then she just said she wasn't sure what it would have connected to. Maybe a local shop or something. I would have maybe accepted this. But I realized that when we got back that night, she went to get a glass of water. I was sitting in the kitchen, and the very first cabinet she opened was the glasses. It could have been a coincidence, but at that point, I doubt it. She broke down and confessed that she had spent a couple of nights with him a few weeks ago, that he had hit her up on Facebook, and that they only talked on there. She said it was a mistake and purely physical. For fun. It's a lot to process right now. I've shut them both out, and I'm just trying to get a better hold on my feelings and emotions. I feel betrayed by both of them. Final comments. Ebritaz, whatever that is. Just read your original post, and Wow. I never would have thought that much about the Wi-Fi thing. I'm sorry that this happened to you. Your best friend is an absolute asshole, and so is the girl. I certainly hope she's your ex now. Time to move on and make better friends. I can't imagine how you're feeling, but know that it'll get better. Heart. OP responds, you know, it's hard, but I'm glad I found out before we moved in together. I think it isn't even her that hits the hardest. Like, part of everyone I think expects or at least knows a partner cheating on them is a possibility, but whoever thinks their best friend would, especially because she said he initiated the contact. Like, that hurts me more than anything. I don't even know if she's being honest that he initiated it, but it's going to make it difficult for me to trust again. Not sure how I can get over this one. Initials, 101. How did she not need to ask where the bathroom is? OP responds, I looked past the whole bathroom thing, but realized after reading your comment that she knew exactly where his glasses were at the end of the night too. Question, why did she ask him to check her phone and not worry? I thought about this one for a while. I don't know the passcode to her phone, it just shows if she got a new Snapchat or text or whatever. But I thought about how she asked me to check it for her. She probably knew he wasn't messaging her at the time, since we all were together, so she felt comfortable with asking me to check it. Question. When asked to clarify what she meant, it was just physical. She said it was all physical with him, like not emotional. She was trying to say we can move past it because it's not like she loves him, that it was just for fun, and that there weren't any feelings or anything involved. Honestly, big time, fuck that friend, dude. Like, seriously. Like, compared to both betrayals of trust, that one honestly is actually worse in my opinion. Because that's supposed to be your homie, your home slice, someone who will last beyond the relationship. But no, instead he's actively targeting your partner. Like, that fucking sucks. The Wi-Fi, the glasses, the bathroom thing, that's like that horror trope where like someone says or does something small or simple, and it just like reveals the rest of the plot of the movie. I can't remember what show it was, but there was like a scene from one of the episodes where one of the main characters is just like in the shower. Suddenly his girlfriend shows up and he's excited to see her. But then it's like, wait a minute, how did you get in? And she just responds, just blankly, oh, you left the door unlocked, silly. Main character was obsessive about their routines and habits. Realizes, no, I didn't. And begins to look around the house and is then promptly met with the discovery that there is another in the house. I'm sure there are tons of other examples, and there are a lot that I can't quite place my fingers on, but it's one of my favorite tropes in media, of like something being accidentally revealed that gives you a bit of an insight as to what's really going on. And that's what happened here with the Wi-Fi. Just a small, seemingly insignificant detail that just opens the door to so many questions. This post was collected by Direct Caterpillar 77, and their tagline is, Satan is not a pogo stick. The original OP is, it's gonna be courthouse. Posted to r/relationships February 15th, 2021. My coworker, 45 male, often interjects his opinion on my 27 female, soon-to-be wedding. My fiance and I have been together for 10 years and decided to tie the knot this upcoming summer. I have this coworker who doesn't listen at all. It's his way or not at all. My coworker, Jack, has assigned himself to be our florist after overhearing my conversation to my friend. He mentioned that he used to be a florist before working at our store. I never asked Jack to be our florist. I politely told him no. We already have our flowers arranged. He asked where we're getting married. I told him courthouse. He gasped and acted all dramatic about it and muttered that it wasn't romantic enough. We haven't talked since then. Now, since it's Valentine's Day, Jack brings up the flower thing again, since he was working the floral section in our grocery store. I told him again that we already had our flowers. It was in one ear and out the other. He kept talking about how he was excited for my big day, and the flowers were going to be so pretty, etc. I walked away and pretty much haven't said anything about my wedding to anyone because this guy just doesn't get it. I'm fed up and have been avoiding Jack because that's all he wants to talk about. I've told him no so many times. What else can I do? Too long didn't read, coworker's obsessed with flowers and won't stop mentioning about his job in our wedding. Relevant comments. King of green apples. Just make sure he does not have full information. Date, time, place, and that no one who does will give him the information. Less he knows, the less damage he can do. No more discussion about any details with him. OP responds, he knows nothing else other than the colors I was going to choose before we fully decided on a courthouse wedding. Deleted user. Let that be a lesson. Keep your personal life out of work. It's not hard. That problem could have easily been avoided if you just kept it for yourself. The less people know about you, the better. OP responds, I was talking to my friend about it, privately, and he suddenly appeared at the tail end of our conversation. It's not like I was announcing it on our PA system. Update, February 28th, 2021, 13 days later. Hello, thank you all for the comments. I know it's been almost 2 weeks since my last post. Some of y'all offered great advice. Again, thank you. So here's what happened since my last post. I went back to work the next day and Jack was off. It was blissful. I didn't see him the rest of the week because he went back to Montana to see some family. I only knew his whereabouts because another coworker felt the need to inform me. Anywho, Jack gets back that weekend and on Monday, he runs into me as we clock in. Immediately, he begins to describe Montana. His sister was getting married in a small wedding. The colors, the flowers. I express my congratulations to his sister and start heading to my department. We don't see each other until lunch break. I'm sitting down, enjoying my leftovers when Jack comes over and starts in on what he has in mind for my wedding. Even so far as mentioning price brackets. I put up my hand and tell him to stop. I tell him that my fiance and I are doing a courthouse wedding. It may not be romantic in his eyes, but it's what we want to do and what we are looking forward to doing. I also told him that he needs to drop the subject as we are not changing our minds. He starts apologizing and saying that he didn't realize that I was serious about the courthouse. I just shook my head and told Jack again to stop talking about it before I walked away from him. Yesterday, I heard from another coworker that Jack was upset and didn't mean to cross lines with me. At this point, I don't care. I said my piece and am super happy that I stood my ground. I will keep doing this too because it feels good to not be a doormat. I should have done this sooner. Thank you again. Too long didn't read, Jack went on vacation, came back, and started his usual spiel. I stood my ground, and it felt pretty damn good. Final comments. From a name that I refuse to read. This is fantastic. I'm just sitting on the couch and clicked on this post thinking, ooh, juicy, and then realized halfway through I knew the backstory because I read your original post. I half feel like I'm eavesdropping on a gossip fest, and half like I just caught the finale of a show I was a bit invested in. Glad to see a happy ending. Well done standing up for yourself. You'll find that with practice and doing it, less people will make it necessary. You'll develop an aura of, I won't tolerate bullshit. Congratulations for taking the first step. All the best. OP responds, I thought I was gonna just tell him to stop, but the words just rushed out of me in the most wonderful way. I still feel like I'm on top of the world. Good on OP for standing up for themselves. If they hadn't, someone on Reddit would probably burst in, calling them the asshole for being a doormat. God, I hate people sometimes. For those of you who aren't aware, oftentimes we'll stumble upon posts and comments where someone is very clearly in an abusive situation, explains the situation, and some asshead on Reddit's like, yeah, you're the asshole for letting yourself be in this situation. It's like, alright, thanks dude, that's awesome. And those ones get under my skin quite a bit. But good on OP for standing up for themselves and not allowing Jack to strong-arm himself and being the florist for the wedding. Like, I know that Jack was just excited, but OP said no. Jack should have taken no the first time and not continue to press on it. Instead, he basically tripled down and continued to push trying to be the florist, and it took OP genuinely actually just snapping at him that, no, we don't need your services. We're doing the wedding at a courthouse. Stop asking. Jack doesn't get to mope around because he crossed a line after being told no. However, I am happy though that Jack did back off and understood that he crossed a line. And I'm happy that he feels sorry about crossing said line. Let's just hope he learned his lesson. Hey, welcome to the outro. Don't forget this whole thing is basically brought to you by GamerSupps. If you like caffeine, then I can't recommend GamerSupps enough. Use code Oz at checkout to support the channel. And I do actually use this product. It's replaced all other sources of caffeine for me because I feel good. It doesn't have any of that extra stuff that a pre-workout blend might have. It's with a couple of the extra things to make it so you don't crash as hard. It's good. I like it. Personally, if you really want a good flavor, try the Soda Press and Pear or even the Dragon Fruit Punch. Those two are my personal favorites right now.